Got it.
And share the minutes. I know.
Oh, yes.
Of the pictures from the mailing list because these were too cute.
The cats like it.
Yes. It has the cat approval. Which is really what we were going for this whole time.
That's right.
I don't know if I'm going to take attendance today just because it usually takes me a lot of keyboard effort. Any updates before we just talk about general Grape 1 deployment on the hardware stuff? I assume that the SD, well, actually that got handled last week. Did the reimburse, is this still an open issue? I think you ended up deciding to send these back.
That's being worked by us at the highest levels.
Okay, I will leave it on for now and check.
That sounds.
I think Stan is submitting an invoice or a bill, whatever.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that we don't forget, so I'll leave it on there and I'll check back in. Any other announcements from the New England group?
I have a couple of screen shares to showing good results from out here in the West, whenever that's appropriate.
Sure, or you can add them to the minutes but yeah, let's make sure there isn't any other updates first, and then we'll talk about stuff.
Yeah, Rachel, I don't know if this is the best place, but we've been working on an issue that was raised by a station in Wisconsin of significant amounts of AC apparently on the Grape board chassis or ground. We've been making ground measurements here, ground current measurements, and there's something like 100 microamps of current, which seems to be coming from the multiple wall warts that we have. It of course is hard to analyze everything that's involved in anybody's installation, and I think if there was, and I'm not saying there wasn't, but if there was, I don't think it's coming from us, unless of course things fail. But I don't think there's a significant threat at all. Well, I think it's kind of at the top of the list. Connect the ground.
Yeah. The incident that was reported, just to fill in the group, is that a guy was fooling with his ground rod, and he was getting a lot of disk errors, but then he was fooling with his ground rod and his antenna and the Grape, and he felt a tingle. And so he actually grounded the Grape to the ground rod, and the disk errors all went away.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if the ground connection isn't hooked up, but it's game over.
Exactly. So this is perhaps he didn't follow the directions, but we went ahead, or Stan and Bob went ahead and measured. Yeah, okay, depends on the wall warts.
Yeah, the common mode current
and it's
coming
tiny.
out of warts is not insignificant.
Right.
They don't do a good job
Paying
on
attention
transformers.
to the magnetometer. The same thing occurs if you have a magnetometer, the tapper magnetometer that you're running. It's very important to make sure that the RPi is grounded. Otherwise, you'll get junk results in your magnetometer readings.
Well, they're, you know, if it's connected to the power company, even indirectly, there is a threat. So that's what, one of the things the ground wire is in there for. Particularly with something connected to an antenna outside, which can pick up static discharge. And I almost lost a friend who had a piece of coax in one hand and the leg of the tower in the other hand, and no belt. And he said it took a long time for him to think which hand he really wanted to open.
Yikes.
He opened the right one.
Okay. It's like that has a public service announcement. Grapes work better with roots. Any updates on the software and image stuff? I should probably move this to fairly completed if it's going out. And then anything else will just like, but Bill Engelke, any further updates from you?
Well, let's see. There's been a couple of requests for things to be added, which I'm deferring until after the annular eclipse at least. I'm going to start a list of requested new features, and they're all good ideas. One person asked for me to put in a VNC server, and I took one of my test images and played with trying to add that, and I got about 2/3 way through the procedure till I hit a roadblock where it says you got to connect to SSH, and it was nothing but connection refused no matter what I tried. So I'm going to need some help with that. Another question, rather idea that somebody had is the ability to listen on the Grape's audio output to hear the signal. Another good idea. I played with one of my test images, and it's as simple as adding a single block in the GNU radio audio sync and just wire that directly to the audio input, and then you can hear the signal. It's mostly noise, but there is a signal in there. You can hear it if you have a really good, a good signal. Anyway, I am starting a list like that, which maybe what we'll do is we'll put that on one of our shared directory areas, and people can see what is being asked for and maybe get some help in prioritizing things. But I don't want to, I mean, there's one or two people who said that due to various reasons, oh, I can't run anything but headless. And okay, so there may be a couple of people who can't participate in the annular eclipse because they can't run anything but headless on their Grape. And that is, anyway, we'll see.
Yeah.
Also, I received 4 new blank SD cards from Amazon. And I suppose I need some guidance in who, Gary, the only spreadsheet I have is what you call the 3rd version. If there's another version that has some more people on it, I guess I need to have that so I know who to burn them for, because I don't know who else still needs a system. Gary there?
Gary here.
Okay.
Let it be noted.
List.
So I have these 4 additional chips, but I don't know who to make them for.
Right.
And I think Dave Swartz needs one.
I do.
But that's 1 out of 3.
I think Gary's helping put up an antenna today,
Oh, okay. All right.
and he'll be at the afternoon meeting, so you could get in touch with him then.
Okay. I'll contact him by email and let him know I need a little bit further information.
And Bill, I've got myself registered, I think correctly with the system and an instrument registered. So You should have everything you need from me, I think.
Okay, now, are you gonna get a complete system or just a chip card?
That was the question I was going to ask Gary. I do need to get the hard drive and all that stuff, all that the GNU side of the radio. I already have. Are we splitting the audio coming out of the Grape? Are we doing that with the the FL Digi and the GNU at the same time, or how do we want to do that?
No, the FL Digi and the digital RF are two completely different systems.
All the way down to having two Leo Bodners and the whole bit.
Yes.
I need to get the whole system then, the GNU radio side. So
I have one Bodner and I split it with a power splitter, and I'm feeding two Grape boards with it, and it's working.
Yeah, you can do that, sure.
Yeah.
But you do need two Grape boards.
okay,
I
so
don't know that we've done it
we're not
yet.
splitting the audio output of the Grapes then, is that right?
But the thing is, you need two Pis as well, because the newer one runs on the Ubuntu operating system, and the older one, now referred to as Grape Classic, runs on the Raspbian operating system.
Correct. So I need the whole GNU side of things. I've got a Grape one with the Raspberry Pi and FL Digi, and it's working fine.
Right, and you're gonna.
I think you should be able to split the audio at the output of the Grape and drive the two sound cards. I don't know that anybody's done it, but we're certainly talking about doing it here.
Yeah,
Yes.
that should not be a problem. The impedance of the op amp should handle that just
Yeah.
fine.
And John, would you up well, there's no way to up the output, is there?
No, that's fixed.
But as Bob pointed out the other day, the inputs to the sound cards are pretty high impedance.
Yeah.
And so we'll just see.
So
Well, I was trying to
Okay.
communicate with Gary yesterday about this, and we didn't connect. So he knows that I need the GNU side of the radio. So
Okay, I will let Gary coordinate that. I will go ahead and prepare an SD card, and I'll wait for instructions from Gary on where to send it.
okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Well, I just mentioned, Bill, that sending the configuration file worked just fine. That saves a lot of hassle if people can image their own SD card. It saves a lot of time.
Yeah. It's just a little bit awkward with UA box. I have to individually authorize people to be able to access the image. It's no problem though.
Well, the generic image anybody can pull down, right?
Yeah.
So all you need to email them is the configuration file.
Yeah. But then they have to be able to play with Unix and command line and all that stuff.
Well, all you got to be able to do is copy a file.
Well, yeah.
Well, okay. The UA box directory where I have the image stored isn't publicly accessible.
Oh, the box isn't? Okay.
UA box directory where I have the image stored isn't publicly accessible, but
Yes,
it's no problem for me to add more people to have read access to it.
So should people be advised to refer to you to get access?
If they want to download the image and burn their own SD card, yes.
Yeah, because I'm feeling sort of rumblings of that in some emails. Nobody has come out and said it, but they are.
It's really no problem. I haven't seen anything about any upper limits on how many people can have access to. I think there's about 25 people who have access to that.
Okay.
Folder so far.
Well, the more the merrier, right?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, burning your own is something that makes it's not an appliance operation anymore. You got to be able to do the burn, and
And edit the file.
you can create your own config file, or I can make one and send it by email, whatever works.
Sure, I think just bare naked, you gotta fix this config file for you, and here's the steps to do it. And you gotta get this token, so copying and pasting it from the control system is the best way to do it, and just little hints like that. And people could do it.
Yeah, I think there should be instructions on how to do that in the documentation that goes out.
In your document, yes, indeed.
Yes.
But I'm just saying that in order to do that, they're gonna have to get the bare naked image. That is without configuration. Or with a dummy config file, which was helpful to me.
Yeah, it has a dummy config file in it. Yeah, it just had all my token and my token and everything in it, but I changed it on the server so it wouldn't be a security risk. So.
Got it.
Oh, by the way, also, I'm putting the final touches on a program that will look at each upload and generate a waterfall of that upload.
Yeah.
And store it on the system. Eventually, what I plan to do is add a column to the observations, and if there's an image for that observation, there'll be an icon there you can click on, and it will then bring you up the waterfall. I can show you what this. Let me show you what this looks like. If you haven't seen it, this only take a second. Let's see, share screen. Yeah, some folks have seen this before. This is taking the spectrum data from a particular station and showing you the spectrum on the top and the amplitude on the bottom.
So this is from a single data set.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. And so my idea is to have it so that it's a, let me see, can you see that? No, you can't.
Boom.
Show you right here. Okay. Yeah, what I'm probably going to do is something like add another, you got a little space here, and put another a column there, and there'll be an image icon if there is an image for that observation. We also have the ability to do underneath this analysis thing, which is just a dummy right now, but there is a piece of software that's been partially developed working with Yeoman Kim and his PhD student on bringing up a comparison of various different magnetometer data. And it's supposed to be similar to something that is in the geomagnetic world that allows you to bring up and compare multiple stations. Anyway, I'm rambling. Back to net.
Oh, wait a minute. You will have a new column that will have a symbol or something in it that shows that there is an image for this data set. How does that image, and when does that image get created?
The way it works, the way it's planned to work is the following. Each time somebody does an upload, it creates a trigger in the system, and that tells the system to go to that upload, unpack some of the metadata, and use that for putting the cross-reference information in, like things like the data rate, the center frequency, various things like that. And that's how it shows up in the database.
And if that data set is, so I want to look at the day, but hey, I had it turned on and off several times. So there are going to be several data sets or several additions to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, the way the system works is if you do several uploads and then start and stop it, it adds it to the observation for the day. It does its best to combine them. And if you have a data set that has gaps in it, it'll still do the plot. There'll just be portions of the plot that you can see there's no signal there.
Excellent.
It keeps up with them. And the way it works is that after it does it gets the trigger, and then it creates the stuff in the database. And what it does then is it hands the job off to a queuing mechanism that will queue the job to you see, I got old mainframe blood. It'll queue the job to run the waterfall analysis.
Got it.
Takes several minutes to compute, but the queuing mechanism just runs them in order received, so it won't overload the server. At least that's the theory of it.
Now at midnight, it's going to get bombed with data.
Right. Yeah, and that's the reason we're using the queuing mechanism. So that if 2 dozen things come in all at once, it'll just stack them, and it may take several hours to complete doing the waterfalls, but they're already in the database and the cross references there, and then you'll just see the additional icons pop up as they get done.
Very good.
So that's the plan.
Yeah. How long? Just a wild guess. If so, suppose everybody that's currently there sends everything at midnight. How long does it take before everybody gets an image?
Well, how many stations we got? Right now, we've only got 8 or 10 stations that are uploaded. You talking about now, or when we get the current tranche of them all running?
No, there's something like 17 green pins on the map. People uploading.
Yeah, that should take about an hour to compute them all.
Cool. Thank you. That's quite acceptable, don't you think?
Well, I mean, we could speed it up a bit by adding more cores to the server and all this and that, but I guess it depends on how important rapid response is. I mean,
yeah, well, I just think setting the expectations among the user community is appropriate. So thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I will add that's pretty common in scientific data to have a lag on the processing, and a couple hours is not bad.
That's right.
Any other comments on the image or software?
By the way, Bill, I think that's an excellent presentation. Thank you.
It was beautiful. Actually, I should have grabbed a screenshot. Maybe next time.
I can send you the file. It's just a JPEG.
And I can just throw them in. Yeah, I'll throw that in the image, or in the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Gary is not here, and I assume this is for the most part settled, and just kind of static at the moment. Any questions or comments on documentation? At this point, it's been sent out. So I imagine.
Yes, it has. It's been, well, it's not. It has been published on the web. Gary has made a nice web page at hamsci.org/grape1-drf-docs, and it's got several documents on it. Mr. Engelke's very fine treatise is there, and my guide that I wrote as if it was going to be packed into boxes, but logistically that didn't work out, and so it's just been posted, and people, a sheet was packed with the units that said go online to get the manual, and that's where it was pointing people. So yes, that's been published, and I welcome any errata that people find, and I'm ready to rewrite parts or add parts if anybody thinks it's appropriate.
Very nice. Okay. Any other questions or concerns on the, I don't know, team side of the deployment? If not, I did want to set aside at least a little bit of open time for the Grape 1 stations that are currently deploying to talk and ask questions.
Well, under that Grape 1 section deployment, it would be good if Gary could confirm that everybody has received their system that we shipped. I gave him all the tracking numbers, which I think he was going to forward to the recipients. I haven't heard back that everybody actually received them, I guess. But looking at Bill's map, there's 20 green dots this morning.
All right.
Yeah. That.
Now, bear in mind that some of those green dots are just test stations that are uploading basically null data in order to, we're doing some burn-in testing to see what is causing these occasional system crashes. My theory is that, the Raspberry Pi really isn't designed to be used as a server, but that's what we're doing. So I think some of these black screen of death instances could potentially be something overheating in the Raspberry Pi, simply because we're driving it too hard or something. Just a theory.
Where would these test stations show up on the map?
I have one or two of them, and I think the New England Grape Group
I have 2 of them. I have running 2 of them.
I have one of them too.
All right, there's 5.
Yeah, they're all running, I think, under the moniker of test station. And those will go away at some point. The station is test station, and instruments 1 through 5. We have 5 of them running, just to do survivability testing of the Raspberry Pi. And I have not observed crashes in my system. Has anybody else? So it seems like the image is solid. We do get reports from some people about crashes, and I'm old school. I'm like the IBM guy says, swap out the processor.
Yeah.
If you get a black screen of death, you put a new Raspberry Pi in and move the SD card over to it. I mean,
now I was running the other day, and I was carelessly plugging and unplugging my keyboard and my mouse, and my wireless keyboard and my mouse. I was playing with the USB ports, and I noticed that my cursor was not an arrow any longer, it was a cross, and it would follow around the mouse movements, but I couldn't click on anything, and I couldn't do anything. And Bill suggested I try a Control-Alt-Delete, and I said, well, hell, that's DOS, but okay, and I did, and the system kind of said, it put up a dialog box saying Ubuntu has an error. Click here to tell the development group, which I did, and then it rebooted and put me right back where I was. So fooling around with the configuration during operation, everything was live. I was plug and playing. I was playing it loose just to see what would happen. And you can make it do this if you screw around with it.
yeah, we ought to counsel people as we get closer to the eclipse, if you have a running system, keep your hands off it. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Don't fix it if it ain't broke.
Yeah,
That's
and if
right.
you want to look at what it's doing, look at the personal space with the station network, and then you can see all your observations you've uploaded, when they were, how big they were, etc.
Right.
So
There is feedback. It just takes a little longer.
and Rachel, to clarify that, don't mess with the image, but don't mess with the system at all. keep your hands off it. Don't plug things. Don't,
Right.
you know, you start plugging things. That's when.
Well, these are things, I hope Gary continues his missives to the assembled volunteers and covers these things. So Rachel, please make note so we can get these thoughts to Gary.
Yeah, don't physically touch the box if you can avoid it.
Yeah, don't unplug and play.
And then, you know, some people would even say, you know, when you walk across the carpeted floor, you can build up a static charge. Then you touch the Raspberry Pi, you could induce enough of a shock in it to make it lose its mind. So that's why I say don't touch it at all.
Well, the Pis, yeah, they are in a case, but anyway, be smart about this.
Well,
Yeah,
again,
I forgot about
back
that,
to the
yeah.
ground strap.
Yeah, back to the ground strap. But then you get a nice big spark.
Okay. Is anyone on the call who has deployed a system? I know somebody said recently they had some stuff to show off. Who wants to post either an image or share their screen or ask about a question really fast?
I've got some a couple of images that show we're having pretty good success out here in the West.
Sure.
So if I may do that, I will
Yep.
share my screen. Hopefully I can get this right. Okay, on the left, we have two images that Lee, KF7YRS, and St. George put together, and they show the same time frame for his system and mine. And I think that's a pretty darn good agreement. I think our systems are working very well. Huge thanks, of course, to Bill and everybody else in the project. The image on the right is one he sent me, and I can't figure out what on earth would cause an arch like that. It starts up here in the upper right, moves around in a parabola type shape and exits down here. My brother enhanced the image, and it's very, very strong. So we can't, and he didn't have anything extra running.
And then
So anyway,
time going up and they're coming down.
One of the things that can cause that is an ionosonde running. If you spend a lot of time watching waterfalls like I do, because I have a flex radio, you'll see that various different government entities are running things to probe the ionosphere, and you will see it do things like that, where it comes sweeping through your monitor frequency range and then goes away.
this is over a matter of like 3 or 4 hours, though.
That's right. So it was sweeping from a higher frequency down to a lower one and then back up high over several hours.
Oh, then I don't know. Ionosondes run faster than that. So
okay,
Cool.
let me see if I can get rid of these images. Oh, I'm going to have to stop screen sharing. Hang on just a sec. So if I stop screen sharing and go back and dump this one and dump this one and back to screen sharing, be done in just a moment, folks.
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay, the left you're all familiar with. The right is my Grape 1, the old original station. And I added up the times. Right here is a very strong offset. There's another one here. And let me see where else. Another one here. Anyway, these extremes where they're running off the plus or minus 1 hertz show up very strongly here, here, and here. So everything is working.
Cool.
Just leave that with everybody.
TID.
Thanks, Rachel. Are we
Sure.
back? Am I off now?
Yes, we're off now. So we'll go back to the minutes. Okay, maybe the wrong crowd to swoon over the cat picture.
There's a dog in there too.
Yes, and a dog, although are toxic to dogs.
There's an old saying about curiosity killed the cat, and a friend has them, and they're always interested in anything new that arrives.
Oh, yes.
Yes, but you forget the second part, but satisfaction brought him back.
Mm-hmm. He figured out what was up with that and moved on.
Okay. So any other, I guess, comments or pictures or general reports from the field from our grape stations? I have to assume silence is good in this case. I hope nobody's actively like putting out, a grape station fire or something as I speak. All right, any other questions on the Grape 1 deployment? It seems, knock on wood, okay, and we have about 2 weeks for the eclipse. So if we're collecting a good chunk of data before then, I think we're in a good position.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any Grape 2 updates, John?
Actually, I've got some pictures of the new board set. If I could do a screen share. See if I can do this now. Okay, this that is the running board set. This is the RF deck on top, the logic board on the bottom, the Pico, and then magnetometer interface over here. This goes off to the Raspberry Pi. This bottom deck is the new RF or Proto 4 that I built since Proto 1 met an untimely demise. Let's see here.
Where does the ribbon cable go?
Oh, well, we have a picture of that. Let's see if I can find it. Not doing too good in terms of figuring out. Well, I had the picture up here.
Well, don't worry about it. I can guess.
It goes off to the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Why is, well, actually, this is not allowing me to share my screen. Oh, there it is. Let's see, that is the actual RF logic board. And this is the one I built up.
Oh, pretty. Look at that.
Got it working Wednesday night, sans the U blocks. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm going to be pushing in a signal from Leo Bodnar to see if we have a weird timing problem that I suspect is due to the way the U blocks keeps its frequency standard by doing pulse skipping, and I think it's screwing up my logic. So we're going to figure that out. But that's the logic deck, and somewhere around, oh, here we go. Come on. Where did you go? Oh, there you are. And that is the RF deck. And this is the adjustable gain on the front end. So you can do a gain of 1, 2.5, 4, or 10. That's the magnetometer.
Yeah.
Let's see that one. Yeah, that's pretty much what's going on with that. Of course, last but not least, this is what I'm fighting with right now. Come on. This is the timing diagram talking to the magnetometer. And I am talking to it, but it's in a loop that does a write of a hex 34 and a read of a hex 24, and a write of a hex 34 and a read of hex 24. And it does that forever, and it never comes back. So I've got Dave Witten working on this one. But I can change the user or the ID of the module, and when you do that, it gets upset because they're not the same in the board. So I know I'm talking to the unit. It's just I got a weird timing problem that I haven't been able to figure out yet to get the magnetometer going. So
Is that those two send and receive? You send a 24 and you get back a 34. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, it's writing something out and then it's reading something back, and
Which is different.
yeah, it's different. And I'm
You
thinking
expect it to be the same?
I don't know. That's why I
Uh,
Dave, because it's doing something in one of the registers. I don't know if it's looking for a ready bit or something, but it's in a constant loop, and that's why I can't read anything back from it. It's sitting there spinning. So
Right.
haven't figured that one out yet. So anyway, there's some teaser pictures of the Grape 2.
Nice.
I think that's low.
Intriguing.
I do have to ask, is that the new one of the new magnetometer boards, or are we still in trying to get newer?
I'm
Or
still
more.
trying to get newer ones. Oh, here we go.
What are the, yeah, tell me about magnetometers.
Yeah, let me get this over here. And there, this will answer your question concerning where the cable went. And where did it go? Are you seeing a picture? Well, there it is. Wrong desktop. So that's where the ribbon cable goes to the Raspberry Pi. This magnetometer here I have is the one that Scotty sent me in 2020. It's a Rev D. And I've modified it. You can see right here the little jumpers I put in there. So there's 2 +5 lines and 2 ground lines going to the magnetometer over the cable to reduce the IR losses in the cable to it.
Is this breadboard the actual magnetometer?
Yes.
Is
It's
this
upside
what
down.
is this what you bury underground?
Yes.
How do you enclose it?
Well, that's the Rev D. The Rev E took this, I don't know if you can see my cursor, this RJ45 and put it on the end of the board so you could actually put it in the tube.
Uh-huh.
I have at home here, I had to unsolder that and then solder the cable directly into the holes, because you can't put it in a 1.5-inch piece of PVC pipe with connector off the side.
And do you cram it in there so that it gets all the shaking going on?
Well, it goes down to the bottom of the 3-foot tube. I actually took some of the closed cell foam to hold it in place. And then I filled the 3-foot tube with a piece of insulation to keep the cold air from going down.
Uh-huh.
So, but I can actually talk to the one in the backyard, and I can talk to this one. They're the same, but I can't get the software to do anything useful because it seems to be hung up in a loop. But I get the same thing on both magnetometers. So
Uh-huh. Now, is this an old one and there is a new one, and do we have, is there a part number, please, from Tapper?
Tapper has the set. They want $120 for it, and it's the board here with the header on it that plugs onto a Raspberry Pi for the local version. And then the remote version doesn't have this header on it, just has the RJ45 on it, and that plugs into the tube. Problem is on my board here, I've built the magnetometer interface into the Grape 2, so I don't need the local board. I just need the remote board, and I'm trying to figure out if I can get some of the new Rev E.
Now, when Rachel says the new board or the old board, is she talking about the what you were just differentiating?
Yeah, Rev D and Rev E.
Thank you.
Because the addresses have changed. The the RM3100 moved from hex 23 to hex 20. And it's not clear to me what the 2 temperature sensors did. There's a temperature sensor on the local board, which I kept because it's measuring the U-Blocks temperature of the GPSDO.
Yeah.
But the local remote one measures the temperature of the magnetometer. And since they're using ferrites for the detection of the magnetic field, it has a very, very high sensitivity to temperature.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
Yeah, it's a good thermometer. It's that bad.
I had one of my magnetometers in a place that got sun during the day.
Oh.
And you could, I mean, I had it buried, but still the sun in this part of the country is pretty intense in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could measure, you could observe magnetometer readings following the temperature, following the angle of the sun, actually. So
Wow.
it's important that when you mount one of these things, even if you're going to bury it, to have it in a shady location, a location that's in shade all day. Some people have, there's also this little styrofoam cap that you can get that's designed to protect pipes from freezing. Get one of those and put that over it, and that will do a similar type of function. I think. I haven't ever tested that, but yeah.
Yeah. So just another process of getting all this stuff tied together and getting it working. So we're making progress. But the new blue board on the bottom of the RF deck is, or I mean, the Logic board is the one I just finished up Wednesday night and got it working. So we're back playing again. Anyway, back to net.
John, before you go, what brand is that? The pie, the case on the pie. That's very sleek.
Ooh, I have to look that up.
Well, don't do it now, but
Okay.
when you get a minute.
There's a couple of different flavors out there, and this one I kind of liked it because it did a really nice job of encasing the thing, and you can bring the cable out.
And it looks like a nice heat sink.
Oh yeah, it's got 4 posts in it, not 3.
Right. These ones that we sent
Because the ones that we use for the
3 posts.
digital
four
RF.
posts. Excellent.
Yeah, digital RF has the problem is that you can't plug in my ribbon cable because the holes.
Yeah.
So, but making progress.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm rich and famous now. Wow.
Look at that.
I will say, very lovely.
So I really am doing something.
Like the
Been
farming.
published.
Make sure your grapes have roots and plant this in the shade.
Yes.
It is not a full sun fruit. Any further updates on hardware?
No, that's pretty much where I'm at. Got my plate pretty full.
Hung on today.
Yes, I am.
Do you have any updates?
Yeah, I do. So I have a few routines to create the files that in accordance with John's spec, and also where they're supposed to go in the directory structure. But Bill and I have been exchanging a few texts about a few issue regarding to actually printing the data into those files. So we're gonna talk about that later with John.
Okay.
Yeah, because let me see if I can explain it clearly. So the Pi received the data 1 second after the data being generated. So that might cause at the end of the day, if we wait until the end of the day to get the current date time, that could cause an out of sync between data in the files.
Right.
Yeah. It's not trivial.
Right, because some years there will be a second added or subtracted in December or June, and so you have to account for that. Also, if the Pi reads the date 1 second after it's generated, the timestamp is generated by the Pico, you could be on the wrong day when you put them together in the timestamp. So I guess I would argue, since I'm not going to be on the call today, maybe John and Kung, you could consider that we'll just create the whole timestamp on the Pi from GPS and just send that forward instead of just hours, minutes, seconds, include year, month, day.
Okay.
In that timestamp, but that's something we need to discuss. So
okay, that's certainly I was just trying to save data space, but that makes sense. I forgot about leap seconds.
Yeah.
That can screw you up. Good catch.
Okay.
That's everything from me.
Awesome. Okay. 88Y. Dr. Kasdan, did you want to talk a bit about how the C script is going here?
Moving along. Once again, I appreciate your help, Rachel. The code that I have running now produces a test signal, does a limited discrete Fourier transform on it, finds energy in the nominal frequency bin and several up and down from it. I have a piece of code that does a parabolic least squares fit, and my next step, maybe later this morning into this afternoon, will be to run the bin energy data from the first thing that I described into the parabolic least squares and see how well frequency is resolved. It looks pretty promising to me right now. So maybe Kwang and John, I'm getting pretty close to being done with this and be able to ship you a version of it that you can try.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. Sorry, this one has taken so long.
No, don't be sorry. That's a lot.
It's not really very complicated code, but it has taken me a good long
Get it
time
right.
to work out the particulars. Yeah.
It's not trivial.
Okay. Gary's not here, so at the moment I'll just say the website has been updated for docs and everything. That looks lovely.
I did update the deployment doc for the new FL Digi. It's now version 1.05. Dave Schwartz asked me to add some stuff about editing the fldigi.prefs file when the thing starts. So I put that in there and he tested it for me. And
Is this the 77-step document?
It's now 82 steps.
Excellent.
It was 80, and then I added 2 more for Dave. So
it should be easy for users to find that. Gary's not here, but maybe we should make another note to Gary that
I did send him a copy of it. He said it was more appropriate to be up on Christina's Mendeley site or whatever.
Yeah, but it ought to be on hamsci.org with all the other documentation.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
That was one thing that really bothered me about building and running the Grape Classic, was that the documentation was all over the place and you really had to dig to find stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okie dokie. Let's see. I think to a certain extent, this last bit, the urgency for it might be muted a bit by the fact that the site now does waterfalls. So that might help quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I'll probably talk to Dr. Fursell about it at some point. Does anyone have any open comments or discussion? Or we could end 3 minutes early.
That's not possible.
Excellent meeting, Rachel.
We managed this one time.
Oh, we covered a lot of ground.
All right.
Cool.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
'73.
Take care, everyone.
Stay
Have
healthy.
a good day.
Yes.
73.
7 3s.